Well, we start today with those unemployment figures, of course. It's at its lowest level since 2008, apparently. That's according to data released today from the Office of National Statistics. Well, here in the Northwest, in the last 3 months to the end of July, well, the unemployment was down by 27,000 to 239,000. Well, let's hear from Sadiq Vohra, employment lawyer from Walker Smith Way Solicitors in Preston. Sadiq, welcome to the programme.
Hi there.
Now, should these figures be taken as a really accurate measure of the job market for us here in the county?
No, simply because these figures are provided by the Office of National Statistics, and they've confirmed that they class employment as any form of work experience or work-related training, whether it is paid or unpaid, and therefore that hides a multitude of sins, I think.
Why do they use it as a massive headline like this? That it's amazing, isn't it? Because, as you say, it's a national thing, isn't it? And it'll have pockets of areas and the job types as well, as you quite rightly point out.
Like you say, it's a good headline, and it obviously suits the current government's narrative. But what we have here is people included who are on workfare, who are basically being forced into work with being paid less than the minimum wage. Trade unions estimate that there's up to 600,000 people on those sort of programs. We have people who are on zero-hour contracts, and there has been lots of publicity about this. Apparently, up to about 1.4 million people are on those contracts. Locally, we've seen industrial action about this issue by the Bakers Union in Wigan, and quite successfully, I might add. We also have millions of self-employed people who may only be scraping a living, and we also have low pay. I mean, you've seen that pay rises are at 0.6% when inflation is at 1.5%. So if you consider all those issues, it's not looking like a good economic picture. The official figures may have dropped, but the reality is that millions are being railroaded by the government and employers into unpaid work, and work which has little job security and low pay.
If those figures were an oil painting right now, I think you've just poured a bit of turpentine all over them, haven't you? The average weekly earnings, too, still lagging way behind inflation. But if you're looking for work, you'd have to, wouldn't you? There's nothing you can do if that's the only work that's being offered, and you're forced to take that job maybe because of, so many times you've been on the dole, or you've been looking for work.
Absolutely. This is the difficulty. I mean, for example, on the workfare programme, if you don't cooperate, you could lose your benefits for up to 3 years. And so people are being railroaded, like I said, and this is not the economy that we want to build or the recovery that we seek.
And, you take geography into it as well, Sadiq. Competition for jobs here in the north is still far higher than in the south. That can't help also.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I think that we get into a situation whereby it's almost a race to the worst employment conditions, terms and conditions that are being offered nowadays, especially with things like zero-hour contracts.
And the average wage, just looking at that in the Northwest, I believe stands around just over £29,700. And I'll pause there while some people who will be looking at it as a distant dream, so some of the jobs that they're having to do and the finance that comes from that job for some people, to attain that would be quite a decent rate for some people who have to do 2 or 3 part-time jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, the problem here is that we seem to have built a very low-wage economy, and the trade unions have been trying to campaign against this. It's not a recovery if you have so many people in such economic dire straits, to the extent that even with work, they're having to claim benefits to make ends meet.